Hi guys, what is going on, and welcome back to another episode of Total War Arena. So we are back with another battle of the week. This time we have got Swagbeard with his tier 8 Roman Javelins. He's using Sulla, obviously, as you can see down here, who, he's the commander I use when I play Javelins, so seems like the logical choice. And yeah, we are on the Oasis map. Looking at the team, he seems to largely be pretty much top tier. He's tier 8. We've got some 7s, a handful of 6s, another 8 slingers there. So, yeah, doing pretty well on the matchmaking. But let's get this replay started and see how he gets on. So right at the start, he seems to move over with these friendly tier 7 spearmen, which is obviously a wise choice. Much like any of the ranged units in this game, Javelins tend to be pretty vulnerable if you get caught out by cavalry, although they hold up a bit better than archers and stuff, but they're still pretty vulnerable if you get caught on your own. So, best to stay with allies, which he does. Obviously starts to move up and moves into this long grass over here, but very shortly we shall see a key unit is going to appear. Here we are, the enemy elephants, which is obviously the best counter to elephants is javelins. Javelins are just super effective against elephants. The really high armor penetration basically negates all the armor the elephants have. And as we see, this first volley basically misses and clubs into the earth, but then he starts to get some proper hits, and you can see the damage starts to rack up pretty quickly. He used Hurl to get that little bit extra distance. That gives them a plus 35% weapon range, so pretty decent actually for Javelins, well worth using time to time. Also, it's worth noting as well, obviously he's using Sulla, so he has activated Prescription straight away from the start, which gives everyone, any enemies that come into his range, a minus 60% melee attack. Obviously, Javelins have little to no melee attack, so there's no benefit of them, no negative consequences of them for having it activated. But I noticed he's only got the 60% melee attack. He's been careful to avoid collecting the movement speed negative modifier, which you can also get with Prescription. So you've got to kind of be a bit careful how you go down that tech tree, depending on what units you're going to be using. You don't want to take that negative movement speed modifier if you can. Obviously, as we saw in the video, my elephant video, which is hopefully coming out before this, looked at the tier 7 armoured elephants. I found that they'd lost a lot of speed, which is obviously, as we're finding out here, despite the fact they're obviously losing even more speed being hit by the missiles. But Swagbeard with his javelins is quite easily able to catch up with these elephants using sort of a combination of whip and dash. And that means you can obviously get a really good amount of damage on him. Each volley you're sort of talking about 8,000 from the front and up to about 15,000 from behind. So it's pretty solid. Notice here he also deploys some caltrops, just in case these elephants start to make a move for him. But there we go, that's 2 of the enemy elephants dead now, only 1 left to go. Makes a move over this caltrop, gets caught in the caltrop's look and loses a lot of speed. Which enables Swagbeard to keep getting volleys on him. Just look at the amount of damage he's racking up. Of course, racking up a nice amount of points against these elephants as well. And basically removing one of the main threats the enemy team has. Because obviously there's not that much that can counter elephants, particularly some of the infantry will really struggle. So, when you're a javelin player and you have an opportunity to kill the enemy elephants, that is really what you should be trying to do. Which he does easily, and that is all of them dead. And we can see how effective he was. Each elephant has 500 points, so he only missed out on 45 points of the total possible damage available on those elephants. That's pretty good going. So, while he's been killing those elephants, what else has been going on? It looks like the bulk of the enemy forces have basically just pushed through the centre of the map over here. And seem to be amassing over here quite a few ranged units. Slingers, archers, someone having a good old barrage there. And as some of these Romans have been moving into the centre. He managed to get a few volleys into them at the start after they came out to Testudo. Gave them about 12,000 damage. But now he's just doing carefully moving around to the sides of the unit so he can get shots in the side. Obviously, in the patch Super 1, we got the accuracy buff to ranged units, which meant it's a lot more accurate. And you see, he got 12,000 damage for only about 1,000 allied friendly fire. So you can now pretty reasonably shoot into the side of enemy units without causing too much damage. Here, obviously, these poor archers weren't quite paying enough attention and got caught by these unit of Romans. He then starts firing into them, which obviously did cause a reasonable amount of friendly fire damage to these archers. But personally, I think that's probably the right thing to do. I know when I'm playing archers, if I get caught by infantry or enemy cavalry, I'd rather team committed friendly fire to actually try and damage those enemy infantry or cavalry units that are in amongst me. It's well worth the losses to try and kill them as quickly as possible. So, what else is going on in this map? It's pretty chaos. It's pretty still tied battle-wise. We have got some more Romans down here and some enemy javelins, which are rapidly being slaughtered by Swagbeards. Obviously, he's 2 tiers high, so he's going to do quite a lot of damage to those guys, which he does. So he's got a nice unit of Romans have turned their back on him. That's absolutely perfect. Should be able to get a reasonably good amount of damage in, which does a little bit of friendly fire on the cavalry, but not a lot. Not really a problem. And all his units are still in a pretty good way health-wise. So still got the bulk of the enemy forces around here, and quite nice opportunities. Particularly, I mean, tier 8 javelins against these poor guys at tier 6 are just not going to fare up very well. The amount of damage she can cause with, you know, one volley is just pretty phenomenal. Continuing to push down. What else is going on? I think, if I remember when I watched this video, these cavalry make a really good play here. They managed to line up both Swagbeard's javelins and the slingers. Look at that. Doosh, doosh, all the way through. That was a really nice cavalry charge. But no Shino. Unfortunately, I think there's just too many allied units for Shino really to do anything. Swagbeard can start to throw his javelins in, which he's doing, which causes a lot of damage. Some of the slingers are firing in as well, and friendly cavalry turn up, which is just too much for these sort of limited health blood raiders, and they basically get driven off. So Swagbeard lost one unit, took quite a lot of damage in that charge, to be honest, and he took a little bit of damage from some enemy slingers who are around here somewhere. Or there was. Maybe they're dead, maybe it was the actual archers I was thinking about, causing a bit of damage on him. And if you missed that, because I just did, then he managed to stop basically this enemy cavalry charge with his cow traps. They went in, they activated hammer and went for the charge, but they got caught in the cow traps. And obviously, if a cavalry charge into cow traps, then they basically lose all their momentum. So that's when cow traps are just really devastating against cavalry. They lose all that speed, and then with the damage potential of javelins as well, the amount of damage they can do is pretty great. So these cavalry hammering against these archers. I kind of missed that charge a little bit, missed the bulk of the archers. And Swagbeard's just sort of focusing down that one last little enemy unit. I suspect he was actually killed. It's just a slight melee bug. So what have we got left? Those enemy cavalry are pretty much dead. The battle, well, it's well in his favour, but you know, it could go wrong. But you know, units like this obviously very easily killable even with sort of limited health javelins, keeping his range and just racking up damage. See that great damage potential. Bit of an archer duel breaks out. Interesting example, obviously we're going to be looking at this in another video soon, but when you start to hit the tier 8s, the Greek archers start to get a really decent amount of armour. So in an archer duel versus tier 6 versus tier 8, the tier 8s really are just going to dominate that fight. But they do not fare so well against javelins because that defeats their armour pretty easily. So Swagbeard's volley into them did a reasonable amount of damage. Obviously he's just then moving back into the long grass and using it as cover. You know, good move, obviously he can't be spotted so long as they haven't got Hunt on him, which they haven't activated. When he's in the long grass he can't really be seen. It gives him protection from these archers. But the game is nearly up for these enemies now. They're really in trouble. How's Swagbeard doing? 4,500 aggression damage. That is pretty good going for these javelins. And it's been a pretty consistent game as well. Continue applying damage throughout the game. Had a little bit of trouble with those enemy cavalry sort of around the middle. Other than that, going pretty well. One unit there, bringing his commander back in. Getting shots into the back of these armoured legionaries. Each hit's like 140 per volley. It's just such a great damage potential on these guys. I mean, I really do enjoy playing javelins. Obviously, I'm at the tier 6 javelins with Sulla. It's still very powerful. And this is pretty much the end. Obviously, rightly so, not throwing javelins into this melee. You will cause far more friendly fire damage than you will anything else. And these guys are pretty much dead anyway. One archer just got wiped out by some Falconsmen. And that is the lot, and they're going to rout. And that is it. Victory. So yeah, really good game. Very much enjoyable replay to watch. Thank you for submitting it. Obviously, he gets top player for his team with his Sulla Javelins. So yeah, they really are quite good, the Sulla Javelins. I really do enjoy playing them. Yeah, I'm up over at the... let's just pop over to them. Oh, I've got him equipped with the starty, but... yeah, Sulla's a really good Javelin commander. The one thing I was just going to point out that I mentioned in the game is with prescription, there is this... so when, if you don't know how prescription works, when you activate prescription, it applies that to both you and any enemies in radius. So, for example, my level, it gives minus 42% melee attack. So, you know, if all my javelins had that activated and I'm near a fight where our Romans are fighting some enemy Romans, then the enemy Romans will get minus 42% melee attack, which is really useful. And this upgrades down the tech tree. But there is one upgrade here which gives a movement speed modifier. It will give minus 8% movement speed. So obviously, if you had that, then when you activated that on your Javelins would get the 8% movement speed negative modifier. And while it's fine for infantry, when they're in a fight, you know, giving the enemy and yourself negative movement speed isn't really a problem. But for Javelins, that really is. So if you're going to be using Sulla as a Javelin commander, you really need to think about whether you want to be using this upgrade or not. Because once you've got it, you can't retract it. And that would make prescription quite damaging for Javelins once you've got it. So really think about what you're doing before you get that. And yeah, so hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you have, please give the video a like. Let me know what you think about the Javelins down in the comments below. Was it a good replay? Are you researching the Javelin tech tree yourself? All that sort of good stuff. Subscribe to the channel for lots more Total War Arena content. And thanks guys, I shall see you all on the next video.